Hey there, welcome to the latest episode of the Sexy Thyroid Solution. I'm your host, Angela Brown. So today we are going to talk all about thyroid medication, but if you could do me a really big favor, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you could subscribe to my channel and then you'll hit that bell so you get a notification every Thursday when I release a new video. And then if you're watching this on my other social media channels, go ahead and like this, share this with someone who might benefit from this information. So let's start talking about this. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is I get asked a lot about thyroid medications, more so what medications I've taken in the past, what I'm taking now, and what worked, what didn't work. So I thought I would do a video about all the different types of medications and my take on some of my reasonings as to what I feel like is more beneficial, what may not be. Again, it's very person dependent, but I wanted to give you some insight so you could make a better educated decision on the thyroid medication that you're taking, or if you want to talk to your doctor about it as well. As always, because it is medication, you do need to talk to your doctor about this. And, if you have other thoughts on what you want to take or your reasoning, stuff like that, you definitely want to speak with your doctor. But let's go ahead and start talking about this. So something to keep in mind, and I talked about this a lot before, is you have active thyroid hormone and you have inactive thyroid hormone. So you have T4 is inactive and T3 is active thyroid hormone. You only make about 20% of that active thyroid hormone, so you have to convert over. So with that thinking in mind that you have to have this conversion happen, what I see in my practice continuously, and I went through this myself for over 10 years until I started finally figuring out that this was the reason why, was medication that only has T4 in it sometimes is not very beneficial for people. And the reason is because of what I just said about the conversion issue. Most people with hypothyroidism, they cannot convert over. There are a lot of things that can affect thyroid hormone conversion, but long story short, with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, people have a really hard time with this conversion. So a lot of times the conventional way is most people will get put on, the very first thing they get put on when they show that their TSH is elevated on a blood panel, they get thrown on something like Synthroid because it is the conventional thing that people will get put on. That's T4 only. So what I see happening is a lot of people get on these medications and they feel crappy. Not only do they feel crappy, they don't feel any different. They don't feel better. Sometimes they actually feel worse. And that's partially because they're getting all this T4 now and it's just hanging out. It's not converting over to T3. The other situation with that is one of the reasons why a lot of people end up getting put on T4 only. The conventional way for doing a blood panel for your thyroid panel usually is they'll check TSH and then every once in a while they'll throw T4 in. But a lot of these doctors are not checking T3, which is a total bummer because you need to see what your active thyroid hormone is. So again, because they're not checking T3 on a blood panel, they can't prescribe T3. So they only prescribe a T4 medication because that's what they're actually checking. And again, that's why a lot of people ask me, well, why are they only putting me on T4? And a lot of times that's why. It's because they never had their T3 checked. So they just get put on this T4. And again, that's the conventional way. If you're working with a functional medicine doctor, it's a completely different ballgame. You are going to get a full panel and you will probably be put on, if you are put on medication, you will be put on medication that has T4 and T3 in it. And sometimes just T3 because T3 is the active thyroid hormone and that's what you actually need. So what are the T4 only medications? So the typical medications that people end up getting put on is something like Levothyroxine or Synthroid. Unithroid is another term that I hear a lot more recently from people that they're actually getting put on that. It's not as common. Levoxyl is another one, just generic. And then Tyrosint is kind of a sort of newer one that a lot of people are getting put on. The one thing I do like about Tyrosint, it has no fillers in it. So it's actually a very natural T4. So if your doctor refuses I'm not putting you on any T3 and they only want to put you on T4, well, that's what I'm going to shoot for, is something like tyrosine, because it is more natural. There's no fillers and things like that. Unfortunately, if you have a conversion issue, that's not going to matter too much. You actually still need that T3. But tyrosine is the natural one that I do like. It has no fillers. And as far as T3 medications go, those are my favorite ones because, like I said, almost everybody with a thyroid issue, they actually need that T3. Something to also keep in mind with those T3 medications, a lot of times the T3 medications that are really beneficial, they're a combined medication where they have T4 and T3 in it. So something like Cytomel, liothyronine, those are just straight T3. Now, those are synthetic medications. They're not natural medications. They have fillers and other things in them that sometimes people don't absorb that medication the best, but it's still T3. So again, if your doctor finally agrees to give you T3 but won't put you on something natural, then obviously going to Cytomel or liothyronine is the way to go so that you're actually getting T3. Those still have fillers. The combo ones that are amazing because they have T4 and T3 in them, and they're way more natural, are something like Armor, Nature Thyroid, NP Thyroid. I will say I think Nature Thyroid at this present moment is on back order, and I'm not totally sure that they're going to continue to make that. So don't quote me on that. But as of right now, when I'm taping this video, it is on back order. But something like NP Thyroid and Armor are available. Another option is compounded, and that's what I have to do now. So one of the reasons why I had to go to a compounded medication is if you think about like Armor, I used to take something called WP Thyroid. That went on back order, and now they don't make it anymore. And then I was on Armor and NP Thyroid. I took those, and they worked fabulously, but my thyroid was kind of all over the place. The struggle that I had was in each grain of that medication, you have a specific amount of T3 and a specific amount of T4, and it didn't jive for what I needed. I needed a little bit more T3 and a little bit less T4, and it was hard to regulate that. So I got my medication, started getting it compounded because they could make the exact T3 and the exact T4 that I needed to have on my medication, and it worked fabulously. And so I just stuck with it. I've been doing that for years now. I love it. It's amazing. There's no fillers, so I don't have to worry about that. So something to keep in mind with medications, which I want to talk a little bit about, is that a lot of these synthetic ones, they are actually going to have a lot of fillers. So a lot of the fillers, they'll have gluten. Hello, someone with a slow thyroid should not have gluten. Gluten, lactose, corn is another one. A lot of people with hypothyroidism do have a corn sensitivity. Sucrose and dyes, those are really, really common in like synthetic ones. The more natural ones are going to have way less. Something like Armor, it does have like a little bit of corn in it, but it doesn't have the other things. The all natural ones, they will not have gluten. So that's the one great thing, is there will not be gluten in any of those. Which again, when you have a slow thyroid, you should not have gluten. So I hope this helps you. I would love to know from you guys too, if you have or had ever taken thyroid medication, or if you currently are, what's working for you. I love getting feedback on that because it does help me, like when I'm talking to my clients too. If I'm like, oh yeah, I get feedback all the time that medication doesn't work anymore either, or never worked for them or whatever. I would love to know because that always helps me when I'm talking to clients so that they don't feel alone either, and went through the same stuff that I went through with medication. So I hope this information helps you. Again, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. If you're watching this on YouTube, I would love if you would subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you get notification. And then if you're watching this on my other channels, share this with someone who would benefit from this information. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.